Hi there, this is Ranjit, and in this video we'll be doing the full review for this Letv Le1s, which is a sort of a budget oriented Android smartphone considering the price, but it does offer us a lot for the price, and it sells in India for just rupees 11,000, and I feel for that price it offers some incredible value because of the hardware that it packs in. And I'm going to talk about the pros and cons, and I'll also give you my summary, but before that let me give you a specs overview. This Le1s is powered by the MediaTek Helios X10 processor clocked at 2.2 GHz, which is an octa-core processor. It has the PowerVR GPU, 3 GB of RAM, 32 GB of internal storage, USB-C type port. Moving to the screen, it has a 5.5-inch 1080p IPS grade screen, a 3000 mAh battery, metallic body. It also has a fingerprint scanner. And moving towards the camera, the rear-facing camera is a 13 megapixel shooter with f2.0 lens. And moving to the front-facing camera, it has a 5 megapixel shooter. So this is the Le1s, and I have to say, in terms of build quality, the build quality is amazing. It's entirely actually made up of metal, and it looks very cool, I would say. It sports at 5.5-inch screen, but I really like the in-hand feel. It feels like a premium handset, and though it's a big phone sporting a 5.5-inch screen, I would say you can easily hold it in a single hand, as the width is not that wide, so it's comfortable to use. And in terms of build quality, I have to say one of the best build quality that I've seen in this price range. It also has this fingerprint scanner and the IR blaster, using which you can actually control devices like television, and I did test it. For example, you can configure the remote control, and I configured it for my television. That was a Samsung television, and it worked perfectly. But one thing that I have noticed is that this remote IR blaster does not work with third-party remote control apps like Peel, etc. And regarding the charging port, it has that new USB-C type port, so that's a good thing, I would say. So again, for the price, I would say we are getting a lot, and I just love the build quality, and it looks pretty cool because of the chamfered edges, so it gives a feeling of a premium phone. Now moving to the UI, again it is running a custom UI like most other Chinese vendors, and it's known as the EUI. And if you just go to the notification tray also, you won't find any quick toggles. For that you have to hit this button, and here you get your recent apps and the quick toggles, and I feel it's just trying to emulate iOS just too much. So I'm not a big fan of this UI, and it certainly does take quite a bit of time to get used to this one. And regarding the Android version, if you go to the settings, still we are on the Android version 5.0.2, and I'm not very sure when we will get the Android Marshmallow update because of this very heavy UI that we are running. So that is one con. And also, though this device has 3 GB of RAM, I feel that because of this UI, the available RAM that you get is sort of less, though it is for the most part very fluid thanks to that Helios X10 processor, which is actually a pretty fast processor. So in day-to-day activities, it is fluid, but sometimes I do notice minor lags between the apps when I switch. So that is one thing that you have to be aware of. And also, out of that 3 GB, if you kill even all the apps, you just get about 1.3 GB of RAM. So again, overall, I would say for the most part you won't notice lagginess. It runs it fine, but occasionally, yes, I do notice a bit of stutters here and there. Now moving to the battery, the battery is actually sealed inside, and I got a lot of questions regarding the battery life, and it does support quick charging, but sadly I didn't have the official charger, so I used the Nexus 6P charger because it also is a USB-C type. And with this Nexus 6P charger, I could charge this device from 10% to 100% in 1 hour 40 minutes. I've heard on Twitter other users who got the official charger can charge it in about 2 hours. So yes, definitely it supports quick charging. And so in terms of battery life, here again I have mixed results. Let me show you some screenshots. I would say I was getting very good battery life when I was on Wi-Fi, close to about 4.5 hours of screen on time, and the standby time is nothing short of incredible. Let me actually show you. You guys won't believe this one. Let's just go back. And this is completely on Wi-Fi. I didn't use the phone a lot, and just notice this. it was on battery for 6 days. It's not 6 hours, 6 days. And as you can see, again, I had one SIM that was my Airtel 4G SIM, but it was on Wi-Fi for the most time, and I got a 6 days of standby time. So the standby time is amazing on battery, Wi-Fi. But when we move to 3G or 4G, then the battery life is again sort of average. I would say at the end of the day, I had just about 20% battery life with about 3.5 hours of screen on time. So with Wi-Fi, the battery life is very, very good. But again, with 3G and 4G, then it's again sort of average in my opinion. Now moving to gaming, here I had very good experience with this device. It could run all the heavy games I threw on it without any issues. But yes, with extended gaming, it can get slightly on the hotter side. It can touch up to 45 degrees Celsius. Now moving to the camera, the rear facing camera is sort of decent in outdoor conditions in my opinion, as you can see from the sample shots. But again, when we move to indoor lighting and artificial lighting, the camera performance was strictly mediocre in my opinion. Again, I have already posted my camera review with a lot of samples. Yes, it can even shoot video at 4K. So for all those sample shots, you should check out my camera review. Also, in terms of heating, some of you have asked me about the heating. As this device is metallic, yes, with about 10 odd minutes of usage, it feels a little bit warm. But I did test this with my heat gun after usage, and it was hovering about 39 degrees Celsius. But again, because of this metallic nature, it certainly feels a little bit warm. But one thing that I have noticed is that the screen, yes, can feel a little bit warm with extended usage. So it does not get extremely hot, but yes, certainly it becomes warm in my opinion. Now moving to cellular call quality, here I would say the cellular call quality that I got and the reception on 3G and 4G was very good. I have no problems regarding cellular reception. The voice quality was clear, and the other parties also said I sounded very clear. So I have no issues regarding the cellular call quality. And the earpiece is also very good. If I have to rate it, I would rate it 8.5 out of 10. So what do I feel about this Letv LE1S? And I'll just break it down between the pros and cons, and later on I'll give you a ranking. But let's start with the cons and the things that I did not like with this device. The first thing that I did not like is the custom UI that it runs, that is known as the EUI. I feel it's sort of bloated, and though the device has 3 gigabytes of RAM, if you kill all the apps, we just get about 1.2 gigabytes of RAM free. So I feel the UI is a little bit bloated, and it actually feels like you tries to emulate actually iOS. So I'm not a big fan of this bloated UI. Also, due to this bloated UI, though it has 3 gigabytes of RAM, I have noticed that after, if you do a very heavy multitasking, after 4-5 apps, it tries to kill some of the apps, and that can cause sometimes issues. For example, I noticed sometimes on Twitter and even on WhatsApp, I was not getting notifications, but when I reopened the app, I got all the notifications. So because of that heavy UI, RAM management is not that great. It won't matter if you're sort of a casual user, but if you're a sort of a heavy user, you have to be aware of that. I did notice that the handset does tend to get a little bit warm after about 10 minutes of usage, specifically if you're using it on mobile data. It does not get extremely hot, but yes, it does tend to get a little bit warm. Also, in terms of camera, though it is having that 13 megapixel camera, I feel the camera performance is strictly very average, and particularly in indoor and artificial lighting conditions, the camera performance was not that great. Also, it does have that auto brightness sensor, but I noticed that the auto brightness sensor is sort of a little bit buggy. It does take quite a bit of time to adjust to ambient lighting conditions. And again, the biggest annoyance that I have with this device is that custom UI, that is this EUI. It is just simply bloated. So these were some of the cons of this device. Now let's move to the things that I really liked about this device, and let's start with the pros. The first thing is the build quality. The build quality, as I've mentioned earlier also, is amazing. That metallic build, and it feels actually very good in the hand. It feels like a premium handset. Also, I like the features that we get, like the IR blaster, the fingerprint scanner, and the USB-C type fast charging. So it does offer us a lot in terms of the features also. Also, in terms of the fingerprint scanner is actually pretty good, I would say. But again, if I have to rate it, I would rate it 8 out of 10. Most of the time it works fine, but sometimes you have to tap in twice. But overall, I would say, considering the price point, the fingerprint scanner is also very good. Now moving to the screen quality. Again, the screen quality provided is also very good. And also, if you keep it on auto brightness, I noticed that even when I was using this handset outdoors in direct sunlight, the screen was legible. So I'm very happy with the screen quality. And I have to say, if we compare it with other handsets in this price range, for example, the Lenovo K4 Note also has a 1080p screen. But if I have to select the screen, this one definitely has a better screen. But again, it tries to oversaturate the pictures at times. Also, in terms of day-to-day performance, I would say, considering the price point, the performance of this phone was very good. The Helios X10 processor handles it fine. But occasionally, yes, you might notice some UI lag because of that bloated UI. Also, in terms of gaming, the gaming performance was actually very good. One of the best gaming performance for a device in this price range. But yes, with extended gaming, it tends to get a bit on the hotter side. It can reach up to 45 degrees Celsius. And now let me just give a ranking to give you an idea how I feel about this device. First, if we talk about the screen, then I would rate it 9 out of 10. Also, in general performance, I would rate it 8 out of 10. It loses some points because of that bloaty custom UI. And now moving to the camera, which is sort of the weak point, I would say. I would rate it 6 out of 10. In terms of battery life, I would rate it 7.5 out of 10. And in terms of styling, build quality and features, I have to give it 10 on 10. And also, when we talk about price to performance ratio, here again, considering the price point and the performance, I would give it 9.5 out of 10. So I would give it an overall rating of about 8.5 out of 10. And I would say it's a very good handset. You are getting a lot of hardware for the price of just about 11,000. And I have to say, the build quality is one of the best that I've seen in this price range. So definitely you're getting a lot of hardware. But again, the cons is the camera performance is sort of average. And also that you have to live with that bloated UI. That is the custom UI that is being used on this device. I've also posted other videos on this LE1S, like its camera review and its gaming review. You can also check out those videos for more info on those specific topics. I hope you found this video review helpful. If you found it helpful, I'll appreciate if you can click the like button. And if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. This is Ranjit, and I hope to see you in my next video.